Greater Korean Republic launched their latest communication satellite, claiming it will bring a message of peace to the entire world.
Hello everybody, welcome to Pixel Apocalypse's preview of Homefront, published by THQ and developed by Kaos Studios. I'm Nathan Schmidt, with me is Shaquille Hansford.
How you doing, everyone?
How's it going? Are you excited for Homefront, dude? I mean, this looks like it's turning out to be a big game coming up in 2011.
Well, it looks interesting. I'm not excited for it because it seems to have a lot to do with, it has a lot in common with other shooters, but I am interested, to say the least.
All right, well, let's give everybody a quick overview of what Homefront is going to be. Basically, we're looking at a 2027 where America as a whole is 2 years into occupation by the Korean People's Army. Basically, North Korea and South Korea combine. They form an alliance. They, drop the 38th parallel or whatever and become one big country. Some of the rest of East Asia joins in, and they hit the United States with a gigantic EMP, pretty much knocking out our electrical grid, rendering our ability to defend ourselves pretty much useless, and they invade. And as the game starts, we're now in 2 years into this occupation. There's a ton of backstory to this game. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, they even went as far as to bring in CIA analysts to build this timeline upon real-world events that have and could possibly happen. And basically, I guess they crunched some numbers and said, okay, if this happens this way, this might be the result. And then they moved on from there. The player takes the role of, what's this guy's name again?
Robert Jacobs.
Robert Jacobs, who is a chopper pilot. The Resistance needs pilots, so he gets pulled into this whole thing. The blank character allowing us to
white
kind of,
guy.
yeah, you don't know that. They probably won't even kind of divulge what background he has, just because they want the player to be able to imprint themselves upon him, or at least that's the idea behind it. I'm not sure if it's such a great one, but that's probably what they're going to do. And you have a group around you. You're fighting as a resistance. You're not military. You're ordinary citizens fighting for your neighborhoods, your town, what have you. I mean, I know you said it draws comparisons to other shooters, mainly Call of Duty, mainly a big chunk of Modern Warfare 2. But at the same time, I think the fact that you're playing as a civilian and that your entire supporting cast is civilians, and it's really taking place in the heart of America, that I think is really going to pull on people's heartstrings and kind of set this game apart.
It definitely affected me, actually, shockingly, to see some of those scenes. They actually did make me feel kind of depressed. And the trailers in specific, where it gives you a whole timeline, that I think that was really excellently done. There was the part where the new Korean leader comes and you can kind of tell it's fake, but overall,
how is that fake?
No, the
Kim Jong-un?
No, there's a part where he dies and the younger guy comes up and it's
that's Kim Jong-il's son. That's actually his son.
Yeah, but the footage that they showed was weird because it was it looked like they took him and juxtaposed him against a different background.
That's actually an interesting story, because nobody had seen, there had been no photographs taken of Kim Jong-un for the longest time. And I guess while the game was in development, he actually stepped into the public eye, and people got footage of him. And the character they were creating around Kim Jong-un looked nothing like what he looks like in real life. So what they did is they went back in and remodeled him.
Yeah, I was getting confused with political figures. It's hard for me to keep track of who's Kim Jong-il and who's this guy and who's that.
I mean, let's be really frank. I mean, FPS as a genre has really boiled down to kill as many as possible in the coolest way possible. It seems like in Homefront, and from the development diaries, they even say this, that they're looking to put a more realistic face on war and on conflict itself, and that not a lot of good comes from it. I kind of took from that we're going to be seeing a lot of civilians catching it in the ass, and it's going to be a little rough, a little rough to watch.
I mean, moving on, another thing that I found very interesting about the game that they talked about was the fact that there are no cutscenes. It's not going to stop. Gameplay is not going to stop, basically. It's all going to be in-game.
Yeah, it's all in-game footage. They want the player to experience this game as a part of it. They don't want somebody withdrawing from the story. I think a lot of this goes towards. I think this was probably one of the tenets they set at the very beginning of development. I mean, they had John Milius, I think that's how you pronounce his name, one of the writers on Red Dawn, and he also directed Red Dawn. And anybody who's seen Red Dawn knows that this guy knows how to write an American occupation movie and make it very cool, especially from the resistance side of things. And I think that probably Kaos Studios really doesn't want the player pulling back through a cutscene. They want them to be involved in what's going on in every point of the game, and to pull on those heartstrings and say, look, this is not only the horrors of war, so to speak, but this is also the horrors of war when they come to your fucking home, and they come to your shores. That's something that I think. I mean, we saw it in Modern Warfare 2. The best part of Modern Warfare 2 was the attack by the Soviets on the United States and fighting through neighborhoods in America. That was fantastic. And retaking the White House. I mean, it pulled on everybody's heartstrings. It was the best part of that game, and it seems like Homefront's not only expanding on that, but taking it to the next level by even making it an even more immersive experience through the supporting cast and no cutscenes and having an actually quality writer on the project.
Yeah, you hit it perfectly. I mean, Modern Warfare 2's going through there and taking the White House and having them come in all Red Dawn style and take over the suburbs. It was cool, but you didn't actually see people. All you saw was soldiers running through the suburbs and running through the White House. So it didn't hit you as hard as walking down the street and seeing these scenes of soldiers beating up on these people and separating families. I saw one scene where there was a couple and these soldiers just grabbed them, pulled them apart, and it's like a scene out of Sophie's Choice.
Yeah, I mean, putting Americans up against a wall and executing them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's already documented as part of the first 10 minutes of the game. It's going to be fantastic. I think, at least as far as, I mean, I can't say it's going to be fantastic, but because I haven't played the game yet, but I will say that I'm very excited for it just because I think this is one of those FPSs that are really going to push the boundaries of what we've seen so far from the FPS genre. It seems like I said before, we have fallen into this rut, and FPS is looking to get us more involved in what an FPS could be, which would make it a huge, huge win in my book. Let's talk a little bit about gameplay. Basically, it is an FPS. If you've watched the footage, it does look a lot like your Call of Duty. It's Unreal Engine, so it's undeniably pretty, but at the same time, it does look like we've seen this before. Now, hopefully, that's not going to become an issue where the entire game, it just feels like we're playing a Call of Duty clone. I mean, Kaos Studios developed Frontline's Fuel of War, and that was a fun game. I mean, it was a little busted, but it was a nice base, and hopefully they've grown from there and created a real quality FPS experience. Because Frontlines did have a following. It did have a lot of people that really enjoyed that game. So I'm kind of hoping that, and they've gone on to say that they've completely revamped the style that they created with Frontlines Fuel of War, and that's what we're going to see in Homefront. So hopefully we're going to see a level of quality above and beyond what we saw in Frontlines Fuel of War.
Yeah, one of the things that they talked about that really got to me was that they were saying that you're a guerrilla fighter. They were pushing this, that you're not a guerrilla fighter, but you're a resistance. You're civilians. You got busted materials. You don't have the high-tech, high-quality equipment that the enemy has. And it was actually interesting to me to actually think, hey, for once, the enemy has the upper hand. For once, I'm actually going to be struggling against an almost insurmountable obstacle. But then I was kind of disappointed when I saw some gameplay footage, and they showed the guns, and they had the red dot sights, and it looked really crisp, and it looked like Modern Warfare 2 guns, you know?
Exactly. You had like homing missile, like shoulder-mounted homing missiles.
Yeah, it was.
Those.
Those were the things that I wanted the enemy to have. Meanwhile, I have like an M16 with
Yeah,
no
from like
scope
Vietnam,
on
you
it.
know.
Yeah, that basically like a Battlefield Bad Company 2 Vietnam gun with no
Right.
scopes, no attachments.
No red dots.
Meanwhile, they have rocket launchers, they have Nikitas and Stingers, helicopters, everything. You know, that would have been great.
Yeah, I did see that, and it did kind of worry me a little bit that the development team was saying one thing, and we're actually going to get another. We don't know. I mean, we don't know when that took place in the game. Maybe it took. There is a section of the game where the North Koreans have set themselves up as a depot in a big box store, which I thought was pretty funny. And at some point, you do attack this depot. Maybe you resupply there. I don't know. But yeah, it was a concern that I saw. Another concern that I noticed from the video was the AI. There were, on 3 separate occasions, North Korean soldiers moved within 5 feet of the protagonist and did not notice him.
Yeah, there was a lot of
yeah.
just running around cover, and the guy was still facing the wrong direction.
Yeah, running around aimlessly, and I'm talking like not 5 feet in front. And the North Korean runs up, turns to the left, and starts shooting at other AI. Probably your squad AI, instead of paying attention to the protagonist. This happened on 3 separate occasions, and it worried me a little. Granted, this was an early video from E3, but I'm hoping that we see that improve, because for this to be a quality FPS as well as a quality story, that needs to be fixed in a big way. The game will also come with 32-player online multiplayer, which is awesome, and it's going to be using dedicated servers. So, I mean, that's fantastic. We're not going to have the issues that we have with well, we might have some issues. I'm not saying that there's going to be no issues, but, you know, we're not going to have to worry about Xbox's peer-to-peer and people host migration and people dropping out, because all the servers are deady. So that's fantastic. That's always a plus.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that there's support for this game where people will go out and get this game, so that there's a reason for those dedicated servers. Because if there's no money coming, then those will get shut down and quit.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't see that happening, though. I mean, this game has a lot of hype behind it. I'm excited for it. You being communist, maybe you're excited to play as the North Koreans. I don't know. As you've never seen Red Dawn, you don't know what I mean when I yell Wolverines.
Well, I did enjoy how when they talked about the multiplayer in the trailer, there was like a short kind of cutscene sort of feel to it at the start of the match, where there was a squad of soldiers, and they called out over the radio because there's an EMP and they don't know if people can hear them, so they're like, yeah, we're moving in on this suburb, and we see a big group of Koreans, and if you can hear us, please come out there and help us. So they get into the battle, and there's like a battalion of freaking helicopters coming in, Blackbirds coming in, saying, yeah, we heard you, and we're coming in with air support. And I'm thinking, if that's going to be happening in multiplayer, that sounds pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it really does. And not only that, but you also have, I think it's fantastic because as in the campaign you play as a civilian and part of the resistance. In the multiplayer you're actually part of the military, which is fucking awesome. You get the best of both worlds, basically.
Yeah.
Are we going to see co-op?
No.
Isn't this a game that needs co-op?
Yeah, but no.
Oh, don't tell me that. You're such a penis. All right, guys. So that's a preview for Homefront. It's looking to release on March 8th in North America, March 10th in Australia, March 11th in Europe, and April 29th in Japan, 2011. A day before my birthday, it's definitely on my fucking wish list for a birthday present. I feel like I'm going to be enjoying it for a long time. I feel like it could probably... Everybody's looking to Battlefield and DICE to create... and EA to create the Call of Duty... the next big Call of Duty killer. Yeah, but I don't know. I've got a feeling it might be Homefront.
Well, there's a chance. I mean, if this pans out the way it looks like it will, which most games don't, hopefully it will, but if it does, it'll kill Call of Duty, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the preview. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go buy Homefront when it releases March 8th.